I don't really know what to say really. I went to a comprehensive school, you know what I'm saying? I grew up watching shows like Waterloo Road, you know, Strictly like that. I grew up, eating things like, ketchup, stuff like that. So I'm not really an academic, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't, I'm not really used to doing this kind of like talk stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just a writer, and I guess that's what I've come here to say today. I've just got out of bed. I've got the writer's hangover. I've just been like writing all night. You know what I mean? But like writing's always just kind of come to me naturally. Especially playwriting. I remember, fucking hell, man, must have been about like 5 years old. I was watching Waterloo Road on the telly, and that was like, that really got me thinking about, what made people tick, what made people want to do the things they do, how people became different people around different people, you know what I mean? And I just kind of went into the rehearsal room, after I've got my play done, after the process is done and I've written the play, you know what I'm saying? And I just love, being in the rehearsal room, during the rehearsal process. I love, working with directors and actors, because, the thing about plays is that, you write it down, but it's the actors that, bring it to life, you know what I mean? The actors that actually bring it to life, So I love being in the rehearsal room. And it was being in the rehearsal room, really, observing these people, observing these actors, that really made me think about, what is it that makes people tick? What is it that makes people do the things that they do? What is it that makes people, behave the way they behave and become the people that they become around the different people that they like interact with, you know what I mean? So I'm in this rehearsal room, right? And, I always say, if I'm lucky enough to be in on the first rehearsal, or if we just like called a workshop or something, just to kind of float ideas around, because I love workshops, I love being in workshops, I love scratch nights where you can just like hear new writing, this kind of like unfiltered writing, before it's been in the rehearsal room, stuff like that. And like it's being at these scratch nights, just sitting around in a circle, just like, everybody's got like little bits of paper and we're all just kind of reading it off. And, it's being in these that I like to sort of, sit back and observe in these scratch nights, about how these people read. And, seeing those things has really got me thinking about, what people do, why people do the things they do, why people behave the way they behave, you know what I mean? Why people become the people they become, and how people, become different people around the different people that they interact with, So it's being at those things that really got me thinking about that kind of stuff. Anyway, I go into these, I'm in the rehearsal room, I'm sorry, I don't do a lot of these like lecture things, you know what I mean? I'm just a writer, you know what I'm saying? It just pays the bills, mate, you know what I mean? It just pays the fucking bills, Anyway, so I go into the rehearsal room and I'm like, I talk to these people and I'm looking at these people, I'm like, oh, these people, I'm looking at them and I'm like, well, what is it that makes you do what you do, what is it that makes you behave the way you behave, what is it that makes you become different people around the different people that we interact with? Because, if we think about it, we're all different people, you're not the same person in front of your mother that you are with your girlfriend, you know what I mean? You're not the same person you are when you're by yourself, eating a bowl of ketchup, watching Waterloo Road, than you are when you're with your dog in the park, You're not the same person when you're talking to a stranger than you are when you're talking to your best mate down the pub, you know what I mean? Sharing a pint, So I go up to these rehearsal rooms and I'm asking, what is it that makes you become this different person around your dog than it does when you become around your girlfriend, you know what I mean? What is it that makes you think the things you think and do the things you do and behave the way that it is that you want to behave, you know what I mean? And I tell them, I say, like, I ask them this question every workshop I'm in. I ask them this question. I'm like, what is the most important tool for an actor? what is the most important tool? And, you know, some of them say, you know, the voice, you know, it's the voice. And some of them say, you know, it's my body, you know, because it's, you know, we characterize ourselves through the body, you know, that is like, and, you know, the body changes, you know, the body molds and shifts depending on who you're talking to, you know, like you might talk to your mum quite open like that, or, you know, if you're talking to a stranger, you might be quite closed off, and that, you know, really interests me about, you know, what it is that makes people do what they do and like become the people they become and behave the way that they want to behave, you know. And I say I say all these things, you know. Some say, oh, you know, it's the director, you know, it's he's the outside eye, you know, he pushes the actors into giving their best performance. And I say, no, the most important tool is the pen. You look at this. I say the most important. I don't even say the pen, you know. I say the most important tool is this. You know, this is the most important tool for an actor. You know what I mean? This is the most important thing. This is fucking hell, mate. If you use one of these right, yeah. If you use one of these right, yeah. If you use one of these in the right fucking way, it's more powerful than a fucking knife, mate. You know what I mean? It's more powerful than a fucking blade if you use one of these. You know what I'm saying? You really do some fucking damage with this, mate. You know, really do some fucking damage with one of these. You know what I mean? If you're in the rehearsal room, you know, you just got to know you can really do some fucking damage with this, mate. You can really do some fucking damage, mate. You know, if you're coming out the rehearsal room late at night, you can really do some fucking damage with one of this, mate. You know what I mean? You just got to look after yourself, you know. You just got to look after yourself, because with one of these, mate, it's the most fucking important thing you'll have in your life. This has got me out of so many fucking situations. And I tell you, all of my plays that I wrote, every fucking scene that I wrote with this fucking thing, you know what I mean? And when people didn't like it, you know, it fucking got me out of that, mate. Fuck me, got out of the mess I was in.